welcome to Think About It. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and I invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. Today's program is going to be awesome, not that the rest aren't, but I have a special guest with me today, all the way from the other side of the world, just about, from Australia. She will tell you a lot more about how she got here, both figuratively and literally, but the program is all about the freedom, and I don't remember all three words, but basically the freedom and the I'm going to say power, because there is inner power in being creative, in finding our inner child, as I call it. And we're going to talk about sort of the importance of that and how we can do that again, because you know we here in the DC area we've lost our inner child. So my guest is Lisa Shah, and I will SHAH, and I'm going to ask Lisa. Lisa, welcome to Think About It.
Thank you for having me. It's really, really, really fun to be here. I'm very excited.
Yes. And you've been at our house for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been hopefully not overstaying my welcome.
So it's been great getting to know you personally anyway, and now we're going to let the viewers learn a little bit about you.
Cool.
So, in, 12 minutes or less.
Okay.
How did you get here? I mean, why creativity? What do you do about creativity? And how did you make it your kind of your life?
My thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was pretty early in life I started realizing that I tended to see things differently to a lot of people around me. And I guess as I got older, I just kept querying what it is that makes me see things from an optimistic viewpoint, from a gratitude viewpoint, from a spiritual viewpoint. Why do I see stuff like this when almost everyone else around me seemed to see it a different way?
Okay.
And so it became a compelling to sort of understand that of my own. And then I realized that being a multi-arts practitioner, someone who draws, paints, writes, sings, plays music, writes my own music, does the acting, does the, there isn't anything artistic really that I don't dabble in.
Multi-arts practitioner.
Yeah.
We don't usually, okay.
Well, actually, I'm really a cross-arts practitioner, but that would be even a little bit more of a stretch to that. And by the end of this session, actually, you'll know what cross-arts mean, because it comes out in the creative techniques and tips that I'm going to give you later.
Okay.
But, I found out that it was this, these things that I did that cultivated thinking processes, and it's those thinking processes that changed the way I looked at life, that changed the possibilities that I saw, the ability to create alternatives, the positive outlook I had on everything. And so I've come to see that creativity is actually a tool for developing personal freedom, for cultivating a hope that is confident assurance, not just a whimsical kind of vague, gee, we hope so, but actually an assurance that you can have something better than what you have now. And passion. When people are creative, they start to find an authenticity in themselves. They start to express and tap into a part of who they are that they've maybe lost track of. And so it creates this authenticity and a sense of passion and purpose. And all those things, as far as I could see, came from this artistic way of living my life, this creative way of living life. And the arts were just the tools that I used.
Because I think a lot of times, a lot of us who study personal development and study positive thinking and, the power of positive thinking and all that, it seems so methodical or so, I don't know, so stiff, and you do this and you can think positively, but I'm almost hearing you say it's almost the opposite.
It's play.
It's
play. And the thing is, there's a guy online. You can tap into videos that are called TED, T-E-D.
Yes.
And at uni, we see a lot of these. But there's a guy called Sir Ken Robinson, and he talks about creativity. And he said, even in academics, like he used to be a professor and he isn't now because it's just too hard to do it and stay in that field. But he's well respected, and in that, he's still, his content is going out. And he talks about how, all this approach to creativity is still all so much in the head and a little leaning to the left, and it's so true. So what I do is I take it out of that. I bypass logic, if you like, because I bring people back to the idea of play And probably the most difficult thing that I deal with is getting people to debrief play so that they can see the seriousness of it and the depth of substance that it brings to all areas of life to include play in what they do. Balance.
Now I'm picturing some of the viewers who are sitting there in their suits and their corporateness, thinking, "Oh, play," and they're just about to shut us off as far as not listening to this episode. So talk more about play, and how it's serious, how it really applies to those stuffed shirts that are sitting there saying,
Well, the thing is, this is probably the hardest part. And even when I've done creative thinking technology workshops, the most difficult attendees that I have are the ones that are academics and the ones that are corporate, because they're so used to having things in a linear format, they've forgotten how to extract things from abstract circumstances. So before you go to school, before you get into formal education, everything you learn comes this way. Everything you learn is the whole brain working together.
Okay.
So that you absorb information, it's assimilated, it's experiential, and it's applied instantly. You don't learn extraneous facts for no reason. You don't you don't play with theory without having the practice. So even the whole idea of having 10% information and 90% experience it is known to be the most effective way to learn, and yet our education systems are still based the other way and very slowly, very clunkily shifting a little at a time, and so for those guys, I would like to give them an experience.
Okay.
So once you have the experience, then you can see that the experience has had an effect on you. You can feel the effect on it. You can feel what it's done to your thinking and the way that you look at something. And when you start to see that, once that flame is lit, look out. Because my job in life, my mandate in life is to awaken, arouse, and animate unto action. So basically, the reason why I do this is because I want people to be free. I want people to have an optimistic and positive outlook, and I want people to be living in line with what's passionate about their purpose and authentically, because that's what makes happy people. And happy people are the best kind to be around.
Yes, and I just heard a couple days ago a report on the scientific, a report on the happier you are, the more, not just more productive, but how much more of an increase in gaining business people have gotten, or being happy and optimistic versus not happy and pessimistic, and it literally affects the bottom line.
That's true. It does. And the thing is, too, that people, when you're like that, people actually just like being around you. They don't even necessarily know why they like being around you. But the reason they like it is because the energy that you have actually makes it easy for them to connect with the creator within them. It makes it easier for them to remember who they are. And the fact that creativity is actually innate inside them. So, if you go back to some of the practices you did as a child, you will find that you automatically reconnect with these aspects, and you will rediscover what you thought you weren't. Because everybody, obviously, by seeing I play, I do all these different creative things, and one of the most common comments I get is, I wish I could do that. I've always wanted to do that.
Okay.
I wish I was creative. And my usual answer is, well, if you've got a right brain, you're creative, you're just not using it, You're not giving it time. And that's another reason why you need playtime. It's another reason why in the process of doing anything, you need downtime. Because that time, there's something really important going on. It's like when a seed is sown and the root systems are forming beyond your sight, but you know that they're forming there, right? If you keep digging it up, it's not going to have a chance to take root and create anything, right? Well, any ideas that you have, any project you want to run, any evolution of something you want to take part in requires the downtime so that it has the fallow moment to put its roots out, so that it has the opportunity to germinate and to be able to come up, draw from its environment around it. And the crazy thing is that you can be out doing something completely irrelevant, completely off the track of what you've been focused on, and that's where you'll get your aha moment. And the reason is because that's how it works. It's not a coincidence that it comes then. It comes then because you're in a different mental state. You're in a different emotional state.
Yeah, that's why you wake up at 2 in the morning and go, ah! And then
because
write
you
it down.
shut up, you set your head down long enough for the other part of you to be able to bring something, to the fore for you. So learning how to use this stuff intentionally is where the power is. Once you understand that, well, actually, I can focus on putting the information in, do the background, do the research for all the linear thinkers. Yes, do that by all means. But then, put it aside and play some games around it, or get involved in different activities, or overlay something else over the top of it. Okay, so for example.
Yeah.
All right, okay, here's a really cool example. I like this one. And this is where the whole idea of crossing disciplines or crossing arts practices, this is where it comes in. For example, I wanted to look at a different way of reworking finances. Okay.
Oh, and nothing more left brain than finances.
And yeah, especially for someone who's so arts oriented and comes from a family and long line of them, Okay, so I want to look at finance differently, and I've grown up in a poverty place. I've grown up where money was, attitudes toward money were filled with resentment, with, I don't want to need money, all that kind of thing. I was really resisting wanting to cultivate an income because I wanted to prove to the world you don't need the filthy stuff, But it sort of dawned on me that you actually do. For things material, you need money's in the equation somewhere along the line, and sometimes several places along the line. And really, the more places it's involved in the process, the better, because the more hands it's passing through, and money needs to flow, right? So what I did was overlay the whole idea of food and my diet and my health and fitness, what sort of foods do what, and how I use them for different meal times.
Okay.
All right, so I took one field of discipline, one understanding about food and diet and nutrition, and I used that to cultivate a different way of looking at money.
Okay.
All right. So, firstly, in my younger years, I had problems with eating disorders and things like that, and so I was bulimic and played with anorexia, and so it was annoying that food was an essential part of being able to stay alive.
Okay.
Because it's like if I could just not need it, it would be so much easier, rather than have to manage or control it. I had the same idea about money.
Yeah.
But obviously I came to terms with the food thing, otherwise I wouldn't be here. All right, so I started realizing that money and food, actually, they're pretty similar things. I need food. It's not a bad thing to need.
Okay.
It's not a dirty word. I need it. Need is not a dirty word. My body needs food to keep me on the planet so that I can stay here and do stuff. All right. So in the same way, I came to the place of accepting that I needed money, and started dealing with that resentment attitude towards I don't want to need it because I hate what it does.
Okay. And that transfers.
So I took one way of thinking and looking and applied it to another area of my life in kind of borrowed benefits, where I had grown and developed different attitude to health and fitness and diet. Then I was able to take that and go, okay, well, I can apply that over here and overlay it over the top, and then started to pull through that mat, okay, so what does it mean?
And I'm going to hold on for a second because we're coming to a break. Yep. And with that, we'll be right back, and we'll come back to this.
Everyone has friends. There's online friends. Friends to go out with on a Saturday night. Friends to hang out with and do nothing. Friends who show up on moving day. And then there are the friends who'll be there if someone is dealing with a mental illness. Are you one of those friends?
Hello, welcome back to Think About It. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and we're talking about creativity and play. And before any of you who are, left-brained and don't want to play, turn this thing off, keep listening because I've got some information for you. My guest today is back, and she is Lisa Shah, all the way from Australia. So Lisa, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
Which, of course, you came just for the show.
Absolutely. I didn't always know that. Well, as soon as I found out I was coming, I knew that's why I was here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you were just finishing up talking about how you transfer one thing to another to make it more palatable to your mind.
Yeah. Oh, well, to give you a perspective, because sometimes when we're looking at one field, we have blocks, we have limiting beliefs, we have overriding things that keep us from seeing things as clearly as we can. So when we take another field of discipline and put it over the top, then we change the lens and we are able to see some stuff that we couldn't before. So basically, by overlaying the premise of food and nutrition over money, I was able to develop a way around my resentment to money for a start, which is, I know it's a common problem for people. So, you know, that's a good thing to be able to do, to get free of. The other thing was I started looking at the different types of food as being the different kinds of work that generate various ways of income. So fruit, for example, which is instant energy, it's, you know, instant return, quick turnaround. So they're cash sales, if you like. They're things that I can do that were going to bring me back an immediate reward. Then I can look at things that take longer to digest, that are going to take me longer to see the fruit of, and they're the types of things that will take me into a passive, residual, or save investment, you know, those kind of turnarounds. And so I kind of looked at just breaking my day up the same way with the work that I did, because, you know, I need to create money for today. I need to generate an income that's going to sustain me through royalties, or, you know, because of the kind of life that I want to live and the things that I want to do and the free travel I want to be able to get. So I need something that's going to sustain me and, you know, residually. And then at the same time, I wanted to create a surplus in my now so that I can pay for some extra things that are short-term goals. You know, so that's how I broke it up. It's like I had the fruit for breakfast, the vegetables and protein with a little bit of carb, which is energy food, for lunch, and then, you know, veggies and protein mostly for dinner. And I was able to break that up into different ways of generating income that will, you know, keep me going and give me some focus for what to do first, because I have so many things going at once that I usually sit there going, I don't know what to do, and so I'll just sit there overwhelmed.
So how do people who don't have that vision, or think they don't anyway, how do people who say they're not creative,
how do they find that? How do they begin to tap into their creativity? Okay. Well, there's a couple of like games that you play with yourself, and they're just, I guess they're time fillers. So while you're sitting somewhere, you know, and you don't have anything in particular to think about, you can be observing the scenery around you. You can be people watching, all right? So one good thing to do is perhaps choose a selection of a scenario or people or even one person and create a couple of stories about that person. All right, so, you know, and positive. They've got to be positive outcome stories. It doesn't matter if they're not necessarily creating a positive image for you, but I want you to design a story that brings it back around to a positive outcome. So they could be in a moment right now, but you can finish their story. You know, use it and come up with 3 different versions, not one. And the reason you're doing that is because to do that, you have to kind of separate the elements a little bit and put them together a different way, a bit like that de Bono creative thinking puzzle. And when you put the components together a different way, you disrupt the patterns of how you're used to looking at something. All right, so that's one exercise, and you can do it with anything. You can take a photo out of a newspaper and just give yourself 3 different stories, especially if something is loaded. Like if you have a loaded image where it has a reaction for you emotionally, that's particularly a good time to do it. To try and remove it, so that remove the loading, remove the emotion from it. And this is a very empowering thing to do for your relationships. So, you know, the more you can do this, the less reactive you'll become in life, the more stable you'll become in disruptive circumstances that you would normally overreact to, or you know, things like that. So all of these skills are applicable for really important parts of your life. And so that one in particular is good for that. If you can learn to extract the emotional charge around something by pulling it apart, playing with it, putting different stories together. All right, one practice. Do it anywhere, anytime, doesn't matter.
I can see the meetings now.
Okay, really easy to do, right? The next tip, which is phenomenal, this comes back to the whole idea of cross arts or cross discipline, and it's called it's juxtaposition, and it's unlikely partnerships. All right, so usually we're used to seeing things in clusters together or in couples where we find this with that or, you know, that with this. And so one of the best things you can do is put something completely unrelated together with whatever it is you're trying to look at. So just say you've got a situation of wanting to... one example I did in a workshop one time, I pulled a suggestion from the people there, and they said, we want to have a teenage boys' party. I said, okay, so that's the objective, and let's pick a random object in the room, okay, and we're going to work out how to get a kids' party out of that. And we ended up with a blue tin, a mince tin, called Eclipse tin, right? And so we took apart the elements of what that tin is, what it's used for, why, what it's made of, its physical components, its uses, everything. Right. And then we took what we found in that, like it's blue. So we took the idea of, actually it's a tin. So we decided, well, what about a band in the back of a truck? All right, and then it was blue. Well, why don't we make it a blues band, you know? So, and we went on from there. So the juxtaposition, the brain looks for connections. So if you get two disparate things and put them together, that's where you get the cross-pollinating, and that cross-pollinating will bring you amazing, innovative ideas.
Okay, yeah.
I guarantee you that any time you see something really, really amazing and really sort of, wow, that's so cool, that idea, it'll have come from that cross-pollinating of ideas.
Interesting.
Because it's just, that's where they come from. They're, you know.
Do you need more than one person to do that with?
No.
Or can you do, okay.
You can do it yourself, and you can just pick anything. You can just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to pick the first thing I see when I turn around, or I'm going to open this book and pick that word, or, you know, or you could even just choose a letter. You can use a TV unit, you can pick a light, a colour, anything. It doesn't matter, but if you make it random or if you make it chance, then you're not going to have a preconceived approach to it. So the more that element that you can put into it, the more you're going to have to work your little brain to sort of play with ideas. Okay. So, and the final thing with regard to tips, and this one is crucial. This one is actually probably fundamental, and it's a bit attached to the first one, is that you must suspend judgment. Now, when you go to a movie, in order to be able to get drawn into the movie, to be able to enjoy it, you've got to suspend judgment or suspend belief so that you can be drawn along. We do this all the time when we choose to. Okay, so this is about doing it by volition. This is about doing it in circumstances that are different. Okay, I know how to do it. I'm going to do it here. You know, whereas, when we go to movies, everybody does it. It's expected. This is a context that we're used to doing it in. Okay, so now we're going to do it in places where it's not normally done, or where we don't normally do it. We're not used to doing it. It's going to be a switch we learn how to turn off and on.
Suspend judgment. That sounds easier said than done.
It's such a freeing, it's the most, one of the most liberating aspects of creativity, because when you suspend judgment, it takes all the good, bad, and right and wrong out of everything. And so what it does is it's a detached observation of things, of elements, of pieces of information. It's not loaded with anything. And when you remove the loading, you start to see the full potential of what that element has to offer you. Because it's the loading that keeps us from seeing it. All right, so when we think, like there's an old Chinese proverb, which I can't remember all of it, but there were elements of, this guy was a farmer, and his neighbour said to him, it's a pity times are so hard and you have to work by yourself, you know. And then something happened, and his son ended up coming home, and so his son, he got fired, and his neighbour says, bad luck, and he goes, well, I don't know if it's bad luck or good luck, you know, and then his son was there to help him. All right, then his son has an accident, breaks his leg, and his neighbour says, bad luck. And he goes, I don't know if it's good or bad. Actually, they have a war and the son doesn't go because he's got a broken leg. And the neighbour says, good luck that your son had a broken leg. So good and bad is contextual. Right and wrong can be contextual. Timing is everything, you know. So we can remove that. Even when something doesn't look good, we can say, well, actually, in a different circumstance, this could actually be a benefit or a blessing. It's the silver lining. It's the ability to see the positives. Everything has countless positive possible outcomes. And that's why creativity is so good for restoring hope and assurance for people, because basically it comes down to, I know there's ways of doing this. I may not yet see what they are, but the fact that I'm open to them now means that they will come to me. When you don't, when you're not open to them, you won't get anything.
I know I work with ideas, helping people implement them, and I hear constantly, let's brainstorm. Let's brainstorm. And in the corporate world and in many other places, brainstorm is poorly used and defined, because brainstorm is supposed to mean suspend judgment.
Yes.
Throw out thoughts and let's just accumulate them first.
Yeah.
See what kind of mix that generates, and then see what comes of it.
Yeah.
And we how about this? No, we did that before. And it's like, hello, we're supposed to brainstorm.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, that you have to create what's called a safe environment for people, so that they know they can chuck stuff out. This really is a no judgment zone. I can chuck this in there, and it doesn't matter how random or how out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to say, it's okay, we're open to this idea, because it can have some effect that we don't know about. And the more random it is, the more chance it has of being amazing.
And that's going to lead us into the last couple of minutes, believe it or not, of the program.
Oh.
Talk quickly about the World Tour, not time-wise, but overall, World Tour and the randomness and how people can follow you.
Okay, so the Lisa Shah World Tour is about, it actually is a tool for freedom, for hope and assurance, for passion, for authenticity, for following your purpose, for getting aligned to who you are and the creator that's in you, and living your life, creating your life on purpose through all these premises. So I'm going, avid social media queen. I was the show and tell queen before there was social media. Now that I'm the social media show and tell queen now. YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, several blogs, articles, everything, love it all. And so basically, with the Lisa Shah World Tour, I am connecting up with different social media people that I've got all around the planet that I've had relationships with over a long time. Sylvia is a friend of one of mine. I didn't know Sylvia before now.
That's right.
But we both have a mutual friend, and I've known that friend for some years, and I know you know him well too. And so we connected that way. And everywhere I go is based around the social media connections that I've had, that I've nurtured. And the content of what I'm doing is speaking about creativity and about freedom and about passion and about agape love, which is the unconditional, no judgment kind. So, the things that I've talked about today are all the characteristics of what this tour is about, presented often through music and blogs and things like that. So you can find me on lisashahworldtour.com. Shah is S-H-A-H, and it's all connected. You'll find me on Facebook through there, Twitter and YouTube. All of it comes back to that site. So.
And one last little tidbit, is there an end? Do you want to, how do you know your journey's complete?
I don't think your journey ever is complete.
There you go, and that's the creativity part too, right?
Absolutely, always open, always open. When you leave this body, I don't think it's complete. That's my personal, and why would you want it to be? It's too much fun, expanding, growing, exploring, creating,
Great. Lisa, I can't believe the time has come that quickly to a close, but thank you so much. At least you gave us some tips on how to get our inner child on, as they say. So great, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great.
It's been a journey. So with that, you got some tips on how to be more creative and be more productive, really, and get more of what you, I guess, dream of or need without need. So this is Sylvia Henderson, your host. And I invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, think about it. Until next time, make a great day.